I'm very looking forward to our debates, actually, and there are a lot of things that we have in common, Zach, so I look forward to discussing that, and I'm sure, Ray, you'll draw out some of those parallels. But also there are some distinctions to be made. So I'll just give a quick introduction to Incisive Media, who we are, a little bit about what we've been doing, the changes that we've been through. It's also been a lot of change. Incisive is no stranger to change, for those of you who know our business very well. And then I'll talk a little bit about our focus and what we're thinking about in terms of sort of the future. So, Incisive Media, who are we? We are a global digital information research and events business. We were established in '94, although we own a number of brands that go back as much as 170 years. We have about 450 people, largely in the UK, but we have growing offices in New York and Hong Kong. We've had those offices for decades. And in terms of our footprint, well, we're much smaller. We're a specialist business, and so we're focused mainly on those 6 communities that you can see there. And on a monthly basis, we generate about 2 million users, 5 million page views. And I'm sure for Zach and other Zach too, you know, that doesn't really touch the sides in comparison. But for us, for a market that is specialist in such hard-to-reach audiences where there's so much value, actually that is pretty significant. The other thing that makes us a little bit different is that our business, and certainly the business that I look after, so I look after the Incisive Insight piece, we're principally user revenue based. So we get a lot of our revenues from subscribers, and they might pay us anywhere between £500 and £2,000 to subscribe to one of our products, depending on what they're subscribing to and which market they work in. But we also have enterprise subscriptions where businesses will pay hundreds of thousands of pounds to access or allow some of their users, some of their teams, some of their offices to access our information. So that makes us a little bit different. Of course, advertising is still important, and we have teams that sell digital solutions, but really we're user-generated, and it's about 60% of our revenues today. So while some of those challenges we face are the same, the move to mobile, trying to drive more engagement, trying to increase the revenues and the monetization we get out of our audience, the rise of ad blocking. Because of our business model, our approach and the solutions that we employ are going to be naturally and necessarily very different. So, change. Change is inevitable, change is a fact, that's absolutely true. Disruption is just part of the game, and I'm sure that's something that's come across through the various sessions that have been happening over the last couple of days. But change is happening all the time. Our consumers need different information. The way they're using and accessing that content is changing all of the time. The technologies we have at our disposal, the solutions, there are some very sophisticated solutions that we've talked through today, even in the panel just before. And the customers and our clients are demanding more ROI. So actually all of those things necessitate change. And if you're not changing, you're almost certainly missing out on some opportunities. And the other thing I would say is that if you're not close enough to your customers, the way in which you're implementing those changes might not be actually the most effective, the best way for your business. So true to form, Incisive, it's been a very busy year. We've done a number of things. We've invested in our teams. We've reorganized and restructured some of those teams. We've reskilled teams. We've invested in our products, so we've relaunched all of our sites as responsive. We've launched live apps. We've revamped all our edition-based apps. And importantly, we've spent a lot of time, especially in our core markets, trying to understand our customers, who they are, really get under the skin of that sort of customer segmentation. And that's really changed our approach, both in terms of sort of how we think about data, but also a lot of the strategies around our product and how we engage with our customers. Absolutely central. And all of that change has allowed us to improve engagement. We've seen a big step change in that, but it's also delivered more revenue, which is very important. If you're investing in your business, your investors would like to see a return on that, and for us that's about delivering revenue growth. And we've certainly done that. And in addition to that, we've actually also shifted and transitioned our business making it more valuable. So we're now digitally led, as you can see. So as I opened up with, we're a digital and events business. We do, of course, still have some print, 6% here in 15. As we go into 17, it'll be closer to 3.5%. We're largely user-led. And within the users and within those subscriptions base, we've really transitioned from one-to-one subscriptions to those enterprise team subscriptions that I was talking about. And actually, they're very valuable. They're much stickier, and you can really grow those. So that's an important change that we've made. And I think, as a business, our ability to identify, tackle, and embrace some of those changes and launch those new initiatives are really at the core of why we did so well and became the AOP B2B Publisher of the Year. You know, I'm very proud to work for a company that's won that 3 times. It's a great honor to be recognized in that way through your peers and from your peers. But really, it's a testament to the teams. It's the passion, it's the dedication, it's the ability to embrace and adapt to change and do that successfully. So in terms of our future, what are we looking at? I always think when you talk about strategy, it's quite nice to pair it right back to the core of your business model and what's really driving it. And there are a lot of things, again, that sort of we have in common here, but really at the core for us, yes, it's a customer-centric model, and it looks very simple, but it's incredibly powerful. First and foremost, it's the content. The quality of that content. We really invest in that, whether it's our editorial teams or through our event production teams. The content that we create has to be insightful, authoritative, trusted, impactful. There are lots of adjectives, but very, very key. And that allows us to build an audience. And from that audience, as we've talked about, we're able to generate revenue, whether that's the subscriptions or delegates. Or also, we produce a lot of technical content, journals, books, research that people buy. And on the back of that, we can then collect data. And as a subs business, we've been quite lucky. We've always had a certain amount of data, but that data now is just growing and expanding because we're getting to see and understand what our customers are engaging with, the types of content, for how long. And so we use that data to get client-led revenues, so advertising, sponsorship at our events. But data is so much more than that. Data is really at the core of our business. You know, it allows us to understand the customer journey, yes, but actually it also allows us to think about cross-sell. You know, what are the upsell opportunities? How can we grow this business even further? And that reinforces, again, the value through user-led revenues. The other thing data does is it allows us to understand what content is performing well, what content is not performing so well. You know, how can we customize, if you take it one step further, the content that individuals are seeing and receiving to make that proposition even more valuable for them, so that we can, again, create some value from that ourselves. So data is at the core, and sorry to sort of harp on about it a little bit, with data, but digital, for a long time we talked about digital. We had digital teams, and then suddenly everyone became, you know, more digitally focused. And now everyone in a business that works in our sectors certainly lives and breathes digital. Editors think about social media, digital first. All of our marketeers are digital marketeers. Our sales teams understand how to sell very complex digital solutions. Well, for me, I think data is going very much the same way. Data and analysis is at the core of what we do. There's so much data out there. The ability for individuals to really be able to assess and understand and interpret that data to make decisions is absolutely fundamental, because we want our teams to be making those decisions themselves and driving the business forward. So, oh yes, sorry. So we're going to be very focused on data. Absolutely key. And the other thing that we're going to do is invest, as we always have, in products and digital. This is a little bit of a complex slide, but it sort of makes the key point, which is we are replacing our CMS. We're very well into the project here. And we're not calling it a CMS anymore internally, because it's not just about content. It's a user experience platform. It's about the customer experience. It's about data. It's about optimizing that experience. And actually the key for us is that middle section where you have customization, audience data, and content all sitting together under one platform. Previously, those things were sort of woven in, but actually now they all sit together. And that, for us, we think will really propel and help us deliver on some of the focus that we have as a business, which is, no surprise here, about keeping the customer absolutely at the core. So it's about optimizing that customer experience, it being seamless for them no matter where they're accessing that information, what information they'd like to access. It's making sure we're customizing that and delivering the right content to our customers and driving that engagement, which is so important, especially for us as a subs business. The more engagement we get, the higher the renewals. That's absolutely key KPI for us overall. The other thing we want to do is obviously drive and make sure we have compelling content that sits for that digital experience. Alex talked previously about video. It's one of the key things, how can we engage and create content that is more compelling for our users so they're coming to our sites more often. And finally, it's about using data and data-driven marketing to drive that cross-sell. So customer-centric and 3 key elements. That's it.
Thank you very much. Celine, I know you're a specialist business compared with the independent, but I'm struck just how far you're migrating away from print. There's just one paradox. A lot of the science, and you deal with complex issues in your general editorial content. A lot of the science shows that retention, comprehension, all of these things are better enhanced by print and engagement.
Yeah.
And yet you're choosing to go to the digital route in a way that perhaps the independent had not so much choice. Why?
Well, I think, yes, it is to some extent it's a choice, but every decision we make is based on what our audience and our customers want. Print will always have a premium position, and there are some subscribers that still really value that, and so print will continue to exist for as long as that is the case. Okay. But actually, a lot of the content that we consume, and with people absorbing and sort of engaging with that content throughout the day through different platforms, most of our engagement is actually desktop, then mobile, then tablet. Print isn't actually the main form with which people are engaging with it. So there's definitely a place for print. We've redesigned and relaunched some of our print titles, but it's not the core focus, and that's based on our customers and what they're saying.
Good. Thank you very much indeed.